So have you ever seen like the circus and like the lions are walking around and like with the people like out there? And you're like, why isn't this lion just eating the hell out of this man or woman? Which has happened a few occasions.
But I know they feed them.
They feed them.
So they're not hungry.
They feed them so they're not hungry.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite food? Like what is it that you love to just do?
Carne asada.
Carne asada. All right.
Yeah.
So if you just went to lunch and you had a bunch of food and your stuff, like you went to, I don't know, a pizza place.
Yeah.
And you had a pizza and all the food and everything there. Mm-hmm. And then I brought you carne asada and you were stuffed.
Yeah.
It's your favorite food. Do you want it?
Not so much.
That's what's happening like with most people's business. Okay, you have to think about how you can sell to a starving crowd. Right? That's your list. That's your lead. That's list building. Putting that, but most people aren't selling to a starving crowd, right? So it's kind of like not only like you, for example, when we went to the real Tarzan's ranch, you know, I held the anaconda.
Yeah.
Like the only reason I held the anaconda is because he told me like they just fed it.
Yeah.
How do you sell to a starving crowd? When you're selling to a starving crowd, the concepts that we're talking about works. When you're not selling to a starving crowd, the concepts that we're talking about obviously does not work.
So maybe you have to reassess what you're doing.
You have to reassess what you're doing. So the question is, how do you do that? And it always comes back to the gecko effect. Okay, it's how you set up what happens next. All right, so like when you're running your ads and you're calling out a person with the issue and you're telling them how you can solve it, right? So they click, they basically, they're raising their hand. They're like, that's me.
Right.
And then what happens on that next step, they're the starving crowd, you feed them. Right? But if you aren't calling them out, and let me give you an example. You see these people with a lot of followers on social media. They'll have a video of something that went viral. And then they'll comment on it.
Right.
And it gets all these followers. And they're like, I got 1.5 million followers.
We kind of experienced that.
1.5 million leads, yeah.
Yeah. One of the posts that we did,
let's talk about that.
Yeah, it was about the Uber driver talking about how much he makes, you know, in a day or in a month, right? And it was valuable information, but with the audience that you have, it's mostly marketers, business owners, things like that. But what that specific reel attracted, I mean, it probably got the most views we ever had on it, like 2-point-something million. But it was a bunch of people talking about Uber.
Yeah, so you're 100%. Yeah, so let's give it more color and so people clearly understand what we're saying. So what we're saying is if you build an audience of people who aren't interested in your product or service, it's not going to work. We did an ad. We did a post. I got an Uber. I asked the guy how much he made. I forget how much he said he made, but it was like
something. Like
it was a lot of money. It was like, let's just say $30,000 a month driving Uber.
Right.
He was doing Uber Black. We were in San Francisco. In a busy area. It was easy for him to do that where he was, and that's what he made. And I asked him that, and I posted it. And of course, it went viral because everyone's like, you can't make that. He's lying. This is an Uber commercial.
Right.
And all these people started following me. We're like, oh, we got a post that went viral. Come to find out, these were all people that were probably like job seekers or like opportunity seekers. Like, oh, how do I make that? How do I do that, right? They weren't my market, which are entrepreneurs spending money on ads, like trying to grow their business.
Right.
So we had a real tough time getting our algorithm to switch back to our ideal market.
Right.
Because of that one post. The intent, we didn't know it was going to do that. That was just a mistake. We thought it would be good business, but it just kind of turned that way. My point is you have to be selling to a starving crowd. Once you get the starving crowd and you start to essentially make more offers to the crowd, you keep a focus on list building. The goal is to feed the funnel, meaning identify the problem, keep feeding the funnel, and then figuring out, like we always talk about, how you can make more offers to that list. And if you do that, every time you spend money on ads, you essentially be putting the money back in your bank account tenfold than what you spent that day, thus allowing you to advertise for free.